Ever since her big splash in 2013 with the album Pure Heroine, Lorde has carved herself a spot in the realm of commercial music with her interesting lyrical approach and her sound deliberately being antithetical of mainstream pop. I absolutely loved melodrama. Nearly all aspects of that album were top-notch, notably the songwriting, which captured a lot of nuances and complexities of being melodramatic in such a palatable and relatable manner. So naturally, when Winds of a New Lorde album came around, it was highly anticipated for me. Didn't listen to any of the singles, went into it completely fresh, and it is kind of a disappointment. It opens with The Path, which begins with some light atmospheric licks and high-end vocals. The track picks up the pace rather quickly through the addition of a nice-sounding drum kit. I really like the dreamy melodic send-off, and I appreciated the lyrics, the message being that famous people cannot solve your problems and that it is better to leave those things up to the forces of nature, a theme that is overarching throughout the entire album. California, alongside many other cuts, has a soft background instrumental with weaving elements of guitar, piano, and textured electronics. The song talks about how California's hyper-obsessive celebrity culture was an entity Lorde feared when she traveled there to receive her Grammy. She mentions people lining up to buy Supreme, the sheer amount of drinking that happens, and the fact that she happily rejects all of that. Fallen Fruit is an environmental awareness song that talks about the overbearing heaviness of having to live in a time of environmental crisis, a feeling the previous generation didn't really have looming over their heads. I like the sense of conflict and imminent dread the song gave off in the last leg, where Lorde's voice loudens and the piano arpeggio spells of impending danger. Secret serves kind of like an advisory session where she's giving life advice and examples to look out for, looking back at how we all couldn't wait to be teenagers as kids, and suddenly now we're in our mid-20s with no stoppages of quarter-life crises. It's an uplifting track with a surreal epilogue where the idea of emotion is manifested in form of a spiritual airport as the PA speaks in airline metaphors about how feelings work. That was kind of out of left field, but I thought it was actually pretty cool. Big Star is a wistful commemoration of a lost loved one. I assume Lorde is referring to a pet here. The hollowed instrumental and drudging vocals reminiscing about how much they meant to her and how she'll carry that void feeling until she dies is quite sorrowful. I really like Mood Ring. It's a satirical commentary on people who sap themselves with their own intellectual autonomy and rely on commercialized products and exotic vistas to spiritually find and understand themselves. It's an interesting topic. The flavored acoustic backings and dreamy melodies are really pleasant to listen to as well. And Lorde saves the best for last, in my opinion, with Oceanic Feeling, because it is, one, beautiful, and two, a hell of an introspective closer. The numerous instrumental phases of blurring blues to underlying tropical sounds of pluckings and hand drums to driving percussion leads to the slow diving goodbye is also well arranged that each segment ties into each other pretty organically. I couldn't even notice that 6 minutes passed by when it finished. Lorde loves, wonders, and reflects about her past, present, and future quite a lot here, mentioning how resemblant her child would be of her and recalling to the cherry black lipstick she wore early on in her career and leaving it to gather dust in the drawer as a sign to show how much she has matured. A reasonable portion of Solar Power has some really high quality cuts on here that I think could be grouped into some of her best material for me. However, it is contrasted by a good chunk of tracks that were certainly showing some puzzling shortcomings, mostly in the songwriting department, where the potency and poignancy you would expect from her is just not there, which is not a good sign, especially since the core sound here is emblematic of a dramatic shift to a singer-songwriter style. Jesus, that was a fucking mouthful. The title song, for example, shares similar instrumental elements to the opener, but the songwriting here just does not hook me in whatsoever. Not to mention the melodic payoff at the end is a lesser derivative of that on the opener. Stone at the Nail Salon, in my opinion, is probably one of Lorde's weakest songs ever. The instrumental is super stagnant and the lyrics are so uninteresting, where halfway in I was amazed that the song was still going. Dominoes has a super plain acoustic instrumental. It made it hard for me to even focus on what was even being sung. Leader of the Regime seems tacked on, out of place, and contributes nothing to the album as a whole. And the man with the axe, I did like it on first listen. The personal and intimate vocal delivery with lovesick lyrics is quite enjoyable, but after repeated listens, the production just really could have benefited from feeling more curated, because Lorde's performance here can't compensate for how uneventful the instrumental is. Overall, Solar Power has some soaring highs to it that I really adore. Lorde has changed and matured, and that is thoroughly expressed in some stunning and powerful moments here. But that presents a double-edged sword, because as an album experience, I had to push through a good chunk of slog and shortcomings that perplexed me more and more as I listened to it. The trope she inhabited and the pockets of flavorless sounds just felt very out of character, and the album does suffer for it. Definitely expected more. This is kind of an uneven transition into a singer-songwriter style, but as a whole, it's decent. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down below, and I will see you on the next video. I'd give it a